of day, in the dead of night. We've all found ourselves worn out from the same old fight. We've all run to things we know just ain't right. But there's a better life. There's a better life. You got pain. He's a pain taker. You feel lost. He's a way maker. If you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. If you got chains, he's a chain breaker. If you believe it, if you receive it, if you can feel it, somebody testify. If you believe it, if you receive it, if you can feel it, somebody testify, testify. If you believe it, if you receive it, if you can feel it, somebody testify. If you got pain, he's a pain taker. If you feel lost, he's a way maker. If you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. If you got chains, he's a chain breaker. If you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. If you got chains, he's a chain breaker. Little reminder this morning from Philippians 4:4. Rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again. Rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And 4:13 reminds us we can do all things through him who gives us strength.
Amen. Let's use this song as a prayer this morning before we hear our message.
Father God, just for today, help me walk your narrow way. Help me stand when I could fall. Give me the strength to hear your call. May my steps be worship, may my thoughts be praise, may my words bring honor to your name. May my steps be worship, may my thoughts be praise, may my words bring honor to your name. Father God, just for today, help me walk your narrow way. Help me stand when I could fall. Give me the strength to hear your call. May my steps be worship, may my thoughts be praise, may my words bring honor to your name. May my steps be worship, may my thoughts be praise, may my words bring honor to your name.
Well, good morning and welcome to Coast Point Online. It's been a blessing not only to see the individuals who attend here at Coast Point continually online each week, but to see how this community online connected with Coast Point has been growing throughout the area and across the state. And we just pray God's blessings on everybody who's tuning in this morning and upon your families. You know, Coast Point has a pretty simple mission: inviting the generations into the story of Christ by extending the grace of Christ. So when we talk about being a grace place, we mean that. We really want to be a place where people are not judged by their past, but they are received, and we are journeying together to know Jesus better. Doing life together sometimes can be pretty messy, and this is a messy time for most of us when it comes to our jobs and what we're trying to manage at home. And because I teach school too, God bless all the parents who are trying to help their kids with their assignments, and all the kids who are learning to do some things online in ways that they didn't necessarily have to do before. And then when you go beyond that, the business and other places, it is a time that brings great challenge. And we're trying to do the best that we can with it. And we're doing so with hope and confidence. Coast Point is a grace place because we are a place that recognizes that sometimes life is pretty messy, but you can find friendship and you can find a welcome to journey together to get to know Christ better and to do the best we can with life. Our vision that pushes that mission is quite simple: making a difference that matters. And that's precisely what we want to try to do. We don't want to be just a church on a corner. We also know that we can't do everything, but we can try to do those opportunities, those things that God brings our way to the best of our ability, and we can do so with the right motivation. We want to make a difference that matters for Jesus Christ. If it matters for Christ, then we know it's going to matter in the lives of real people, real families who are engaged in challenges and opportunities in life. So I'm glad that you're here this morning, and I want to share with you a message from the Psalms, but I want it to be a message that speaks to precisely where a lot of us find ourselves right now. I'm not sure that everybody thinks exactly the way I do when it comes to messages that you hear from politicians and business leaders and others, but I tend to be somewhat of a skeptic at heart. I can be a little cynical about things I'm hearing, so I try to filter everything that is coming through to look for that gem of truth which makes a difference. And when I read the Psalms this last week, there was a psalm that just spoke to me as a worshiper of God. And I hope this morning that it will speak to you. And it is Psalm 58. Psalm 58. Psalm 58 begins like this: Do you indeed decree what is right, you gods? Do you judge the children of man uprightly? No. In your hearts you devise wrongs. Your hands deal out violence on earth. Well, in the English Standard Version, it says you gods, but if you'll look at the Message and some other translations, it brings out the idea that we're talking about leaders around us, perhaps political leaders or prominent business leaders, medical community, all who are working hard to try to address a current crisis, for our application, current crisis that we are in. And the worshiper I can identify with, like I said, because the worshiper looks at all of these things out there being said, and the worshiper is sometimes wondering about certain motivations that play into advice that is given and into solutions that are offered, and yet recognizing that the worshiper, just like us today, are blessed with so many wonderful people who are in prominent places of leadership, who are working day and night to help us to get through this and to a better place as a country. As I was talking with a friend this last week on the phone, we were also discussing the fact that it is a political season. So it's so easy for politics to blend into criticisms for decisions that are made. And we wonder sometimes about how certain political stances influence decisions that are made. And as a worshiper I hear these things. I try to do the right thing because I want my family to be safe. I want to honor the authorities just like God has called me to do. Honor the authorities that are in charge and be respectful towards all. And in the end, certainly trust God. And I hear all of these things, and I can understand the worshiper saying to God, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray from birth, speaking lies. They have venom like the venom of a serpent, like the deaf adder that stops its ears. You hear the cynicism, the questioning coming through for the worshiper, so that it does not hear the voice of charmers or the cunning enchanter, so that good advice and bad advice aren't even heard, because there is a self-focus in the pursuit of some type of solution or some type of truth. And again, you hear the worshiper who is seeing his situation unfold and recognizing that, well, human beings are human beings, and that sometimes we act on the motivations, and yet standing on the outside looking in, we can't always determine exactly what the motivation is behind a particular statement or piece of advice, and it leaves us with question, and it leaves us with uncertainty, and it leaves us sometimes a little bit frustrated. And yet we're good people trying to do the right thing and honor our families and honor our community and honor those who are in places of leadership, whether it be politics, business, our schools. And God bless the wonderful leaders in the school districts around here and all of their work that they're putting into to helping school systems through this, and even church leaders. And the psalmist goes on to say this, "O God, break the teeth in their mouths. Tear out the fangs of the young lions, O Lord. Let them vanish like water that runs away. When he aims his arrows, let them be blunted. Let them be like the snail that dissolves into slime, like the stillborn child who never sees the sun. Sooner than your pots can fill the heat of the thorns beneath them that are fired up, whether green or ablaze, may he sweep them away." And as the psalmist saying, God, I don't always know exactly what to think or what to believe, and I wonder about certain motivations behind advice that is offered. And I know, because of human nature, that I know that there are some who come with the wrong motivation, and God, I need you to step towards us and not away from it. And the worshiper's confidence and our confidence today needs to be just this. God's not running away from us. God is running to us. God is not avoiding us. God is embracing us. And isn't it great? Isn't it great that your God is the one person in your life you can always count on, never to run away from you, but always to run to you. So the worshiper calls for God to step in. And that's exactly what we need today, for God to step into this situation. I'm thankful that sometimes, even with a good motivation, I make the wrong decisions. And I count on my God to help to overcome even the poor decisions I make in order to bring something good. That's one of the richest things about our God. He can take something that is a disaster and he can bring something beautiful out of it. And in the end, verses 10 and 11, the psalmist says, the righteous will rejoice when he sees the vengeance. So what is it that those who are trying to do the right thing do? They see God step into the situation, bring solutions to problems, and they applaud. Our God has acted. Our God has responded. You know, I can't help thinking about that final conversation Jesus had with his disciples. The cross has happened. The resurrection has happened. Jesus now is meeting with his disciples before he leaves and goes back to the Father. And he says, I will be with you always to the end of the world. That same confidence that Jesus delivered then to his disciples exists today for us who are worshipers. And in the Old Testament, the psalmist knew this about his relationship with God, that God would act, that God would step into the situation, and that his position as he saw God acting was to applaud God for doing something about the trouble that he felt surrounded by. And the psalmist concludes that he that is a worshiper will bathe his feet in the blood of the wicked. Mankind will say, surely there is a reward for the righteous. Surely there is a God who judges on earth. The message says it's worth it to play by the rules. I think that's true. Again, we don't always know the motivations. We know that we're in a political season. We know that people aren't perfect. We can't always see the full and complete picture. We don't know exactly when we're going to get beyond the present stage of this whole virus challenge. We can't see the future in those ways, but here's what we can see. That we have a God who has been there in the past, we have a God who is here in the present, and we have a God who is there in the future. And the psalmist says, despite the dissonance in my world and the disorientation that I feel at times, I can move to a good place and even perhaps a better place by having confidence that my God is in charge and that playing by the rules is the right thing, and that my God is not stepping away, but is stepping towards me. Well, I hope that the message this morning has blessed you and will bless you in your life. I pray God's working in your life in ways anticipated and unanticipated this coming week. And we want to send you out this morning with one more song from Mandy and Julie, and it's called Beautiful One. So be blessed by this.
So wonderful is your unfailing love. The cross has spoken mercy over me. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no heart can fully know how glorious, how beautiful you are. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one. Beautiful one, my soul must sing. Powerful, so powerful, your glory fills the skies. Your mighty works displayed for all to see. The beauty of your majesty awakes my heart to sing. How marvelous, how wonderful you are. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore. Beautiful one my soul must sing. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore. Beautiful one, my soul must sing. You opened my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. But nothing on earth is as beautiful as you. You opened my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. Because nothing on earth is as beautiful as you. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore. Beautiful one my soul must sing. Beautiful one I love, beautiful one I adore. Beautiful one my soul must sing. Open my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. Because nothing on earth is as beautiful as you.
Have a great week, everybody.